Hi everyone. Right here with me is a professional in the field. He's been working in telecom for 6 years and also he's been working in digital field for about 4 years. So he has had this big of experience. So Sally, thanks for doing this with me.
Okay.
I want you to introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay, my name is Eshiofune Sani. I am a business intelligence analyst at Smile. I have 6 years worth of experience in telecommunications industry. I've I've been fielded in different roles and capacities in the industry. Started as a network operations center analyst, and I moved to quality of service and performance. Then eventually made my way up the chain. I had a brief stint as an IT assistant manager, and then I moved to my current role as a business intelligence analyst.
Wow, oh my goodness, and I'm so touching now. There's a lot to learn from you. I swear. So before working as a BI or business intelligence analyst, I used to think one of the role of data analyst is to extract data, do the whole ETL process, extraction, transformation, and since I started working right, I've not done all of that. So it got me thinking, is there like a different role? Okay, data analyst is supposed to do this, and engineer is supposed to do this. Can you please explain the whole ETL process for us?
Okay, so as a business intelligence or as a data analyst, it's ideal you have knowledge of ETL pipelines and all the work that goes on at the back end,
Yeah.
but it's not your primary duty. Most of that falls on the data engineer, and then more monitoring falls on the database administrator. Well, ETL process is pretty straightforward. It's extract, transform, and load. It's just a more technical way of something that data analysts actually do. When you get your data, it's ideal that you clean it, and after cleaning, then you can get actionable insights from it. So what the database does is, especially because depending on the size of the organization, you can have loads or a huge quota of data that comes into the business, and entering it manually will take too much time. So the process itself extracts the data, and based on some preset conditions, it cleans that data and then loads it into tables, which makes your job significantly easier. It makes cleaning it a lot faster, and you can provide insights quicker.
That's good. So we don't get to bother ourselves about it.
No, you still do data cleaning,
Yes.
but yeah, it really takes a huge chunk of the work out.
Okay. That's good. So when doing the whole ETL process, are there codes written?
Yes, there are different tools. Um, some people use Airflow. There's Pentaho. There are different tools that used for ETL. Like with Databricks, they have their Genie. So it depends on what your organization decides to go with. But all in all, um, it's it's based on your organization's preference as to what tools you would want to use.
Okay. Yeah. So who is in charge of monitoring the whole ETL pipeline?
The data engineer is in charge of that.
I think I'm getting the whole process. How do you process it? Like,
Yeah, data engineer is in charge of building
okay.
and to some degree maintaining. The database administrator does the day-to-day
Okay.
monitoring and checking it out.
So are there any challenges during the whole ETL process?
Yeah, there can be a few. Um, like with all systems, there is no perfection or absoluteness in them. You can have some in the ETL process. There are different preset conditions and different tables have their requirements. So a lot of them in them they are called jobs. So some jobs can fail, and the reasons why they fail vary. So you can um, inquire, and you as a data analyst can actually spot something that could tell the data engineer, database administrator that it's very likely that the ETL process wasn't completed effectively. Like you see numbers that are skewed, daily averages blow up significantly. Those can be mini indicators as to the fact that there might be an issue. And then it's now on the database administrator and the data engineer to do their due diligence and find out what exactly the issue was.
Okay, that's good. So, by one become a data analyst, I can further transition into being a data engineer, right?
Of
That's
course,
the perfect
of
skill.
course.
That's
So it's you can from being a data analyst you can decide to become a data scientist. It's based on preference and things that you feel you can do best. There are some people who prefer to be more on the, I wouldn't say technical, but people that don't want to be more hands-on with the building. And there are some people that ideally want to create, create or understand systems scientifically to be able to work with the machine learning and the other stuff. So that just gives you an inclination as to where you should most likely tilt towards.
okay. So, what should a beginner data analytics understand about ETL? Like, in the simplest form, what should they know about ETL?
I think that it's an acronym for extract, transform, and load. That's basically the
So, it's up
foundation.
to them if they want to work directly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what skills will you recommend for beginners data analytics?
Okay. Most critically, I would say, of course, all tools that are used in data analytics are important, but two of the most critical skills you can build is critical thinking and problem solving. So a lot of times, and I went through that phase also, focus so much on learning tools, watching videos, but behind the videos there's context. And context is king, especially when you're working in data analytics. Because without context, your numbers can be askew and you have no idea. To you, you've created a process that works and the numbers just pop out. So you don't really know what the numbers are telling you. That's why in every industry, you need industry-based knowledge. You need to know what is happening in the industry, what is happening in the business of things, your customer analytics, how your numbers should look, is there any issue, contextually, why did this happen? Ask questions. Asking questions is an underrated,
Communication
under,
skill.
very underrated skill as a data analyst. Ask as many questions as possible. I it would be safer to ask a million questions, get the right context, and then dive into the work. Because that just gives you a picture of the end before you start. So you actually know where you're going. But if you start off, hit a snag, and keep asking questions, it will throw off your balance.
Yeah, and get to spend more time with people that you're working with. Very
Exactly.
good at communication. I'm
Communication is
learning
very
that
important.
now. So we're going to dive into this today. So how did you stumble upon data analytics? How did you start?
It was an interesting journey, especially because data wasn't really something I searched for. It was more like data found me.
Wow.
After my time working in the north, I was based on my performance. I was moved to the quality of service and performance team, and that was my first interaction really with any data related tools. And it was a bit tricky at first because I had to first understand the inner workings of the department. So after then, I focused a lot more on security, compliance, governance, and I had no idea that I was already finding myself into the field because it was more based on data compliance, data governance, looking at um, frameworks that protected data, data ethics. I was already finding my way in there, but I had no knowledge of what exactly I was doing. And then over time, when I had the brief stint as an IT assistant manager, it started to become more clear because those things I had to apply them in my role there. And with that, that's why I would say data founding.
So you go to logging data.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So please, if you were to start over, what would you learn differently?
Um, if I was to start over, I would say I'd be more focused on critical thinking. I'd try to understand and how to break down situations or processes more effectively. Still, it's always a learning process, something I keep doing and growing with, but your ability to listen to a request and then systematically connect yourself to both the request and your data source to be able to provide the exact solution that is required is an innate skill that every data analyst should have.
So please, if you don't mind, I'd like to give an advice to those who want to go into data analysis. Because they are like beginner data analyst.
Learn as much as you can, practice 2 times as much as you would have learned, ask as many questions as you can, and I would say people are more the way to your answer than tools are.
Yeah. Make your work easier. Yeah, Sammy. So thank you so much. Your head from Sammy. Yeah, and I believe you're going to let everything that you can speak, right? Because it's an expert. You can hear that.
I'm
He has been
still
in for
growing,
over 6 years. You know what I mean? So
still
thank you
growing.
so much, Sammy, for the interview. It means a whole lot to my community. Thank you so
Alright,
much. Thank you so much.
happy to
Yeah.
speak with you.
Yeah.